This is a review on the movie Love and Basketball. And it is actually a true story. So, this movie takes place in the late 1980s, early 1990s, even though it was released in 2000. And it starts off with two young kids. They're about 11 years old. And a new family moves in next door to Quincy, who's one of the main characters. This character approaches him and his brothers, or his friends, and they question because they were told that a girl moved in next door. And the character that approached them had a baseball cap on and looked pretty masculine. So the character asks if they're allowed to join in on the basketball game, and they say sure. So once agreed upon, the character takes off the cap and long hair falls, and it's a girl. And their immediate response is, girls can't play no ball. Well, this girl can. And this girl is the other main character, Monica. And she proudly states that she's going to be the first girl in the NBA. Because at this point in time, the WNBA hadn't been a thing yet. I did a little bit of research, and the WNBA started in 1997. And with the movie taking place in the 80s and 90s, wasn't really a thing yet. So the route that Monica had with the NBA was kind of her only option, if she wanted to play in the States. So the movie's separated into 4 quarters, like a basketball game would be. Quarter 1 is childhood. Quarter 2 is senior year of high school, where the two of them end up falling in love and getting recruited to the same college, which leads us to quarter 3, which is college. And even throughout high school, Monica was a very aggressive, masculine female. Her mom kind of talked to her a lot about it and really wanted her to be a dainty, pretty woman. Where Monica in the movie states, I'd rather wear a jersey than an apron. And that's definitely the kind of person she was. So while they're seniors going into the college, one of the websites I researched, Roger Ebert, states they're both recruited by USC, and both turn into college basketball stars, although Monica on the women's team feels she is penalized for an aggression that would be rewarded on the men's team. And that's kind of how she's been all throughout. And another article from the New York Times states, Love and Basketball doesn't descend on a cheap soap opera, not for a while anyway. Monica is a tough customer, resolute, and surely. So she's very sure of herself, she's very sure of what she wants, and that's kind of the person she is. And she's a very, very strong lead female character, which is how the movie's mostly portrayed. It's mostly portrayed through her, even though Quincy is another main character. And that's probably due to the fact that this movie was produced by a female, and the stigma around women and men's roles in sports was definitely a big thing in this movie when it was released in 2000. Because the WNBA had just kind of started up, and salaries are definitely not equal, and they're still not really equal today, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So jumping back to the movie, third quarter, they're in college, and there's a part where Quincy and Monica break up, and Monica comes home crying, and her mom says, stop it, it's just a game, because she thinks that Monica is referring to a basketball game that she didn't do too well on. And which made me think of the idea that basketball is a game and love isn't. And it's hard for the two of them because they both love basketball and they both love each other. So having to choose one of those loves is definitely difficult to do, for sure. And this movie, again from Ebert's website, it's a quote that says, the big game scenes involve behavior and attitude, not on scoring. And my take on this was, it's not about winning the game, it's about winning the ones that you love the most. And the New York Times additionally states that Love and Basketball around the nature of athletic competition between girls and boys, and the notion that aggression in girls can be seen as freaks, when sometimes girls just need to stand up for themselves. And that's kind of what Monica does throughout the movie. I'm not going to give away the 4th quarter because a lot of amazing things happen. But one of the big things is she ends up playing overseas after college because the WNBA, like I said, wasn't really popularized. It was super, super recent. So really the only option for women was to play overseas where they had no friends, they had no family, they really had nobody. And even today, with the WNBA and the NBA, I did a little bit more research, and there's only 12 WNBA teams as of 2019-2020, where there are 30 NBA teams. NBA players get paid between $5 to $30 million a year, where WNBA players get a maximum of $113,000 a year. That is an absurd difference. And to think that this movie took place in the 90s when this first was becoming a thing, and it's 20 plus years later and this is still happening, is a huge problem. And it's not just like that in baseball. I mean, in basketball, it's like that in baseball and soccer and sports across the board. And even with Title IX in place and different rules and regulations and regarding those two sports, or sports policies between men's and women's, it's still an issue. And this movie exhibits that in such a powerful way, where it's not just a love movie. Yes, it is, because there's the love of the game and there's the love of a person, but it shows it in a very different way.